The message first appeared as a faint whisper across the deep space listening posts that circled the outer edge of the solar system. Most transmissions from the void were nothing more than static or natural bursts of energy from stars. But this one was different. It carried rhythm, pauses, and a repeated pattern that almost sounded like language. Technicians at Station Horizon froze as the signal repeated for the 5th time. A young operator named Lena adjusted her headset, her heart racing. "It's not background noise," she whispered. "Someone, or something, is calling." The message was weak, filled with distortion, but there were clear fragments that every translator agreed upon. To those who hear, "We beg aid." Survival. Word spread quickly. Within hours, the United Earth Council, the coalition of space nations, and even independent research groups were listening to the strange cry. Debates erupted. Some believed it was a trap. Others thought it might be an automated distress beacon left by a dead world. But one fact was certain. The signal came from a star system 30 light-years away, and the call for help was desperate. Debate on Earth. Voices clashed in crowded halls. Some leaders spoke of risk. "We cannot send our people into the unknown," one minister argued. "What if this is bait? What if another species lures us into war?" Others spoke with fire in their voices. "If they are truly asking for help, can we ignore them?" demanded Dr. Elena Ruiz, a respected humanitarian doctor known for disaster relief work on Earth. What kind of people turn away from the suffering of others, even if they are strangers? The people themselves were moved. Across cities, towns, and villages, ordinary humans saw the translated words in news feeds and broadcasts. "We beg. Aid, survival." Parents looked at their children and imagined a world dying. Farmers thought of crops failing. Doctors thought of patients with no cure. Soon, pressure grew too strong. Earth would answer. The ship chosen was the Artemis, a long-range exploration vessel now repurposed for aid. Its cargo bays were packed with food supplies, water-purifying systems, portable shelters, and crates of medical equipment. Teams of specialists volunteered not for money or glory, but because they felt the weight of the call. Among the crew were Dr. Elena Ruiz, who carried her medical kits with the calm focus of someone who had seen too much suffering already. Commander Marcus Hale, a hardened military officer who believed caution was survival but still volunteered to lead security. Anya Patel, a young engineer with bright eyes carrying designs for machines that could clean poisoned air and soil. When the Artemis departed, crowds filled the launch sites, waving and cheering. No one knew what waited at the other end, but every person understood one thing: humanity was not turning away. The world of Thalorus weeks later. After faster-than-light jumps and long silence between stars, the Artemis reached its destination. The alien world of Thalorus hung in the void, a pale blue-green sphere wrapped in clouds. From orbit, the planet looked beautiful, but beauty hid suffering. The crew quickly scanned the surface. Great stretches of farmland lay withered and brown. Once bright rivers were murky and sluggish. Settlements of tall silver structures leaned with disrepair, their lights dim. When communication was established, the Thalorians appeared on the screen. They were tall, thin beings, their skin a soft silver gray that shimmered faintly. Their large eyes showed both intelligence and weariness. They spoke slowly, as if every word was pulled from a place of pain. "You came," one elder whispered. "We called, and you came." Dr. Ruiz stepped forward, smiling warmly. "We heard your plea. We brought help." "We will do everything we can." The Thalorians exchanged glances. They had expected doubt, delay, perhaps bargaining. They had not expected humans to arrive so quickly, loaded with aid, speaking with certainty. First steps of aid. The humans landed near the largest Thalorian city. Immediately work began. Soldiers carried crates of food into communal halls. Engineers unpacked machines that could filter toxins from water. Doctors set up medical tents. Children of Thalorus, frail and curious, peeked from behind their guardians to watch the humans. They had never seen such stocky, loud creatures before, so different from their own slender forms. The humans laughed, sweated, and worked with clumsy determination. To the children, they seemed strange, almost reckless, but also strong. One boy whispered to his sister, "They act as if our home is theirs." The sister replied softly, "Perhaps they do not know how to hold back." Whispers of doubt. Not all Thalorians were comforted. Some muttered among themselves. "Why do they bring so much?" asked one council member. "No species gives without expecting return." Another said, "Perhaps they mean to make us dependent, then rule us." Even among the humans, doubts stirred. Commander Hale warned his team, "We must stay alert. We know little of their politics. Not every hand extended in thanks stays friendly." Dr. Ruiz countered firmly, "If we let fear guide us, then why did we come?" The tension grew, but work continued. The storm one evening, dark clouds gathered across the sky. Local Thalorians warned that their storms had grown violent since the atmosphere weakened. Before long, fierce winds howled, ripping roofs away and flooding low districts. Panic spread as shelters collapsed. The Thalorians, weakened by hunger and illness, struggled to protect themselves, but the humans charged into the storm. Anya Patel and her engineers fought to anchor shelters with reinforced struts. Soldiers braced collapsing walls with their bodies, pulling Thalorian families to safety. Dr. Ruiz waded through flooded streets carrying children on her shoulders, her medical kit slung at her side. Commander Hale barked orders soaked to the bone. "Move, no one gets left behind!" In the chaos, a Thalorian elder watched in astonishment. These strange beings risked their lives without hesitation, shielding a people not their own. When the storm finally passed, the city lay battered, but fewer lives were lost than anyone expected. Realization, that night, as fires burned for warmth and humans sat exhausted among the aliens they had saved, the elder spoke softly. "We asked for aid," he said, voice trembling. "We thought aid was a transaction, something offered in exchange for something else, but you act as though our survival is your oath." Dr. Ruiz, weary but smiling, replied, "When someone begs for help, we do not weigh the cost. We answer. That is who we are." The elder lowered his head. To Thalorians, promises were flexible, easily bent to suit circumstance. But these humans, these stubborn creatures, treated a plea for aid as sacred. Closing tension just as relief spread, a new danger appeared. Reports came from villages beyond the city. The plague, the sickness that had weakened their people, had begun to change. It spread faster, fiercer, showing new symptoms. Anya stared at the readings with dread. If it keeps mutating, it may not only affect Thalorians. We could be at risk too. Commander Hale looked at the exhausted humans and the frightened aliens. "We've already risked everything," he muttered. Dr. Ruiz placed her hand on his arm. "Then we risk more?" they asked. "We stay." The night grew heavy with fear, but also with a quiet truth. The humans had come, and they would not turn away. The morning after the storm, the city of Thaloris woke to silence, broken only by the sound of dripping water and distant coughing. Buildings were damaged, streets were flooded, but life remained. Families held each other close, whispering thanks to the humans who had fought the storm as if it had been their own battle. But peace did not last. Messengers rushed to the human camp, their silver-gray skin pale with fear. "The sickness," one stammered. "It spreads faster now. Villages fall silent. We fear it mutates." Dr. Elena Ruiz immediately gathered her medical team. She examined the sick, her brows furrowed. The symptoms were indeed changing. Fevers burned hotter, rashes spread quicker, and weakness struck even the strong. Commander Marcus Hale watched her work. "If it changes again, it could cross to us." Elena nodded grimly. "Yes, but leaving is not an option." "Not now." The order from Earth far across the stars, Earth's leaders followed the reports. When news of the mutation reached them, fear grew in their voices. A secure transmission arrived at the Artemis. Hale read it aloud to the team. "Mission is deemed high risk. All human personnel are ordered to withdraw immediately. Protect Earth from possible infection. Do not endanger more lives." Silence followed. Engineers, doctors, and soldiers stared at each other. Some looked tempted. They had families waiting back home. Others clenched their fists. Hale sighed. "Orders are clear. We leave." But Dr. Ruiz slammed her hand against the table. "No, they begged for help. We came." "We cannot walk away when the danger is greatest." Her words struck the crew like lightning. Anya Patel raised her chin. "We came to save them, not to watch them die." A soldier muttered, "If Earth doesn't want us here, then Earth can scold us later." Finally, Hale rubbed his forehead, then nodded slowly. "All right, we stay. Orders or not." They asked, and humans do not walk away. The human effort from that day, the humans threw themselves into the fight. Engineers built water-cleaning towers near rivers. Soldiers dug trenches to divert floods and carried medicine across dangerous roads. Doctors worked day and night in makeshift hospitals. The Thalorians, weak and despairing, watched in awe. They saw humans collapse from exhaustion, only to rise again when called. They saw strangers share food with alien children before eating themselves. To the Thalorians, promises were words spoken lightly. To humans, promises were burdens carried even into fire. A young Thalorian named Ciel began to follow the humans with a recording device. He studied their actions with wide eyes. "They are fragile," he wrote in his notes. "Their bodies break. Their lives are short. Yet their resolve is harder than any stone. Why do they fight for us?" Growing bonds over time, small bonds grew between the species. Human children's songs were taught to Thalorian children. Meals were shared around fires. Soldiers told stories of Earth's storms and wars, stories that made the aliens gasp and tremble, then laugh at the bravery of these strange creatures. One evening, Sale asked Dr. Ruiz, "Why do you help us so much?" "You gain nothing," she smiled gently. "Because you asked. And when someone asks, we cannot pretend we did not hear." Sale looked at her in silence, then bowed his head. To him, it felt as though he had just learned a truth deeper than any law of his people. Escalation of the plague. But the sickness did not rest. It spread into the very heart of the city. Even the elder who had spoken kindly of humans grew pale and weak. Fear rose again. Rumors spread the humans will leave. They must save themselves. Commander Hale gathered his soldiers. "If it hits us, some of us might not make it." Dr. Ruiz tightened her gloves. "Then I will make the cure, even if it kills me." She began dangerous trials, mixing human medicine with Thalorian herbs. She injected herself first, refusing to test on others. Fever struck her, and for a night it seemed she would die. The humans watched in grief, and the Thalorians gathered in silence. But by morning, Elena opened her eyes, weak but alive. The cure had worked. When news spread, hope exploded across the city. Thalorians wept openly, stunned by such sacrifice. To them, the idea that someone would risk their life for another species was almost impossible. The final push production of the cure began quickly. Humans and Thalorians worked side by side, carrying vials, setting up treatment stations, and spreading the medicine to distant villages. Hale led convoys through dangerous roads. Anya worked machines until her hands blistered. Soldiers who once only trained for war now carried sick children on their backs. Everywhere, the Thalorians saw it. These humans did not simply help. They gave themselves fully, as if this planet were their home, as if every alien child were their own. The turning point at last, the plague began to retreat. One by one, fevers broke. Children who had been silent with weakness began to laugh again. Fields once abandoned were tilled with human tools, seeds planted with hope. The elder, now recovering, gathered the people. He pointed to the humans, his voice breaking. "We begged for aid," he said. "We thought it a bargain. A plea answered only if convenient. But these humans, when they are asked, they bind themselves with iron. Our survival became their vow." The crowd of Thalorians bowed their heads, not in submission, but in respect deeper than any gift of gold or land. Departure. When the time came for the Artemis to leave, the Thalorians filled the spaceport. Children waved flowers. Adults sang songs created in honor of humanity. Sale, holding his recorder, approached Commander Hale. "You changed us," he said softly. "From this day we will tell our children, never call upon a human lightly, for when they come they give all they have." Hale gave a small, weary smile. "Just remember, we don't answer every call, but when we do, we stay to the end." Dr. Ruiz, still pale but strong, hugged the elder. "Live," she whispered. "That is all the thanks we need." The Artemis rose into the sky, leaving trails of light behind. On the surface, the Thalorians stood together, watching until the stars swallowed the ship. Epilogue generations later, long after the sickness and storm had passed, Thalorian children still gathered in circles to hear the tale. Elders would whisper the words slowly. "There was a time when our world begged the stars. And the stars sent humans. They came not for conquest, not for trade, but because we asked. And when humans are asked, they do not answer lightly. They bind themselves to your survival, even at the cost of their own."